Good evening. Shots have been fired at Princess Anne and Captain Phillips. At least 5 shots were fired at their car and the bullets shattered the windows.
4 months after her dazzling wedding, Princess Anne was the target of would-be kidnapper Ian Ball.
What is interesting is what you remember and how you remember it. Because although I thought I remembered everything that had happened, I would never have been able to swear that I could remember in the right order. Because they were like photos, individual snapshots, very clearly.
In March 1974, the royal car was returning from a charity event when Ball forced it to stop.
The mall is completely closed off here tonight. Now, a gunman got out and fired several shots through the windscreen.
When protection officer Jim Beaton confronted him, he was shot in the shoulder.
There was a couple of short cracks. I took my pistol, lifted it up and fired it in his direction, but nothing happened. And it obviously had jammed. I managed to get into the car and there was Ian Ball with his gun. So I just stuck up my right hand in front of it and he fired. And it went through the window, obviously, and into my hand.
The driver and Princess Anne's bodyguard were hurt. Then a policeman on pawn duty ran up. He was turned on by the gunman and shot at point-blank range.
Strangely, I had thought about it before that. What would you do if? One thing about horses and sport is you have to prepare for the unexpected and you've got to think your way through the sort of problems that are likely to occur. And I suppose that was the discipline which, to some extent, coloured my thought processes.
The princess tried to talk the gunman down, insisting she would not leave the car.
I remember she said to me, she said, I was so annoyed that he tore the sleeve out of my dress, she said, and it was a good new dress.
Before he was overpowered, Ball shot and wounded 4 people. They were all given medals by a grateful queen.
Princess Anne, because she was so cool, calm and collected, I think it kept the situation within control.
3 years later came the birth of a son, Peter, and in 1981, baby Zara. Their mother decided her children should be plain Mr. and Miss.
Stunning pictures of her in here.
We were always brought up on the understanding that we were going to have to go to work, we were going to have to go out and earn our living, regardless of the fact of who our grandmother was or who our mother was.
I think it made us fight harder as well, to try and be as successful as we could be. So I definitely, we're very grateful to her not giving us a title anyway.
As a member of the royal family, living with that sort of pressure is hard, and the expectations that come with it is hard. And that might have been at the bottom of the list, that it may be less difficult for you. But actually, understanding where they sit within the family and what happens next, it made much more sense.
Peter and Zara both live with their families close to Gatcombe Park in Gloucestershire. It was where they grew up, a haven for them and their mother.
It was her sanctuary, if you like.
When you're working, you also want to be able to then go home and, be a mother.
She was taking us out, onto the farm and helping out on the farm, helping with the lambing and all that sort of stuff.
They didn't give them titles, but Princess Anne and Mark Phillips did give their children a leg up into the saddle. Captain Phillips was an Olympic gold medalist before he and Princess Anne were married. For the whole family, horses were work, rest and play.
It was part of our lives. We didn't really know anything else. We both started off with a little Shetland called Smokey. When we went up to the stables to go and ride, it was a working professional yard. Both our parents were riding.
It was normal, especially as our father won Olympic medals and been hugely successful in the sport. That was just life growing up.
But the marriage wasn't to last. After 19 years, the couple were divorced. Princess Anne then married Naval Commander Tim Lawrence.
It's quite amusing that she married first an army officer and then a naval officer, so there must be something about the military that attracts her.
They met while the up-and-coming officer was an equerry or military assistant to the Queen. After almost 30 years of marriage, the Vice Admiral and the Princess Royal make a powerful team.
They both have the understanding of what being a part of the wider family means and what is required, and through the last 25 years plus that they've been together now, he's been a very strong support for her.
Naturally, their interests coincide. The Trafalgar dinner's an annual naval tradition, and an enjoyable date for both of them. There's a shared love of history, duty, and much more besides.
We are both map and chart people. We like to know where we are and see where we're going.
For more than 3 decades, Sir Tim has been able to observe the royal family close up.
Similarities with her father are much talked about. What is less spoken about is the similarities with her mother, the Queen. The common theme is humour, fun. One of the great surprises for me when I first went to Balmoral and to Sandringham and Windsor was that these places are full of laughter.
The love of sport is another bond.
We both follow with great enthusiasm the Scottish rugby team. As you may have noticed, they don't always win.
There is one area where the couple don't see eye to eye.
She grew up with horses. Horses have been part of her life. It's not something I share with her. Sadly, I've never been bitten by the horse bug.
At Gatcombe, that bug draws the crowds to the Festival of British Eventing. Jane Holderness Rodham is a lady-in-waiting to the Princess and a former Olympic gold medalist. They first met riding as children.
Even at 9 years old or 10 years old, you know, when she appeared, she had great presence. She never pushed herself forward, but she just, you know, you knew she was there, sort of thing.
I started to compete. There was an acceptance. I'd give that a try and see how it went. And then it was more successful than I thought it was going to be.
Well, she was obviously very competitive, and she had an amazing affinity with her horses. You know, her and Doublet were just a real partnership. They were a pleasure to watch.
At the age of 21, as a member of the British eventing team, Princess Anne won gold at the 1971 European Eventing Championships.
Well, sport is a great leveller. It has no respect for who you are. It's a question of whether you succeed. If you come first in a World Equestrian Games, nobody can really accuse you of having extra favours because you're a member of the royal family. You've done it, and it's a great thing to achieve.
Also in 1971, there was another trophy for the royal mantelpiece.
Just being selected with that group of sports people has to be a significant honour, especially from the perspective of a sport that doesn't get that level of profile.
It gives me great pleasure, ma'am, to present the Sports Youth Personality Award of 1971.
It was a really important moment for Olympic sport when she won that. Seeing off George Best at the same time was pretty much up there. And, of course, Zara went on to win it many, many years later.
Which section of the three-day event do you enjoy best?
The end.
It was a slightly novel entrance for everybody. I was just amazed to be included.
But the Olympics were the pinnacle of the princess's career and brought even more attention to her sport.
The Queen was determined to see the tough 17-mile cross-country course that Princess Anne will find on Saturday.
I wasn't at the Olympics. I couldn't go. So it was all on the television, what we saw. What I didn't know at the time was that she had this awful fall.
I was going very well. And then I don't remember anything else.
But she got back on and competed. She was that concussed that she couldn't remember, and still to this day, I believe, doesn't remember the rest of the course.
Nothing at all? Nothing at all, no.
It is probably the most dangerous sport on the planet. I've watched a lot of three-day eventing. I know the sort of the competitive granite that those men and women are made from, and she's absolutely hewn from that.
Her mantra for life is very much, if you fall, get back up and try again.
Get up, carry on, mind your manners.
All that early exposure inspired the next generation. Zara Phillips was a gold medalist with the British eventing team and was, for 4 years, world champion. In 2012, she won silver at the London Olympics. Her mother presented the award.
To be given your medal by your mother is pretty special. You can't really ever explain that feeling. She very much, knows what it takes to achieve and to win. Having the whole family come and watch was incredible as well.
All the cousins were there, weren't they? It was a really special day, special family day for...
it's the only competition that everyone's watched me in, but...
If there's going to be one, it's going to be that one.
Yeah.
Was it very important that you beat your mother's record?
No, but it's very important I beat my father's.
It was pointed out to me a while ago that I'm the only member of my direct family not to have a gold medal, but we moved on from that.
The International Olympic Committee.
It was her competitors' understanding of the Olympics that made the Princess a key player in the bid to bring the Games to London in 2012.
I really think the team have earned it. I mean, they've done a fantastic job.
She was absolutely integral to our winning the bid for the Olympics in 2005, then did a huge job with the British Olympic Association.
The Princess Royal was on the bid committee, and her contribution was seismic, and it was always to the point. She doesn't always suffer fools gladly. She doesn't speak for the sake of speaking. I do remember, after a rather long-winded interjection by one of the committee members, she'd actually forgotten to turn her microphone off. And she did manage to utter the immortal words, "I think this person is probably the most stupid person in world sport." And this echoed absolutely around the room. And she never flinched. It was as though it never happened, and we just moved on. But it is probably one of my favourite moments.
Not flinching is a speciality, even in the heat of battle.